Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and today I'm so excited to show you how you can paint this painting behind me with just these two objects. This is a no brush painting. We're going to be using ear cotton buds and a regular household sponge. On the mic today is my husband John.
Hey guys.
He is going to be tracking me with one of our multicams so that you can see every part of how I'm creating this so you can duplicate this at home. And I'm really thrilled to share this with you because I consider this to be one of those stress detox projects where you remember to enjoy your creativity and not take the whole process so seriously that you knock yourself out of the purpose of why you started painting probably in the first place. So let's look at our materials.
You know, that's a good thing for you to say. Some of our Sherpettes were commenting about that they were getting wrapped up in the stress of actually the painting itself and like what materials they had and whether they were doing it the right stroke and whether they were getting the right thing and, you know, was this stroke right? Was that brush? Was their fade right? Are they getting the layers? So yeah, this is good. They really looking forward to this.
This is really something that can help you be reminded that art is about personal enjoyment and art is about relaxing and creativity and not so much about being perfect or having an ultimate result or somehow painting a painting that's going to end up somewhere in a museum. Art really at its heart is about helping you just express all that big inner landscape that you have that you might not even know that you have. On the canvas, I have some wishes. This is a 9x12 canvas board. It's not paper, but you could do this project on acrylic paper, multimedia paper, stretch canvas. Anything you have really will work here. The first wish is an anonymous. This is anonymous wishes today because I needed to get to some of those. One wish came out for recovery and compassion for people, especially over the holidays, who are struggling with addiction. This is a really, really tough time for people who are struggling with that. And so we're just wishing you all the strength and support and help that you need to get through your holiday bomb. And then this was so synergistic to the first one that I had to include it, which is healing and support for mental well-being. And of course, again, over the holidays, you know, if you're somebody who's not guaranteed mental well-being every minute of your life, this can be an especially challenging time. So we're just wishing that, again, you have the things that you need to be able to enjoy this time of year and feel your best possible feeling that you can have. And then this is personally for me, and it's a bit goofy, but I am wishing for a new year in 2018 for everyone on planet Earth, and I'm going for everyone on planet Earth to have a really great year.
Yeah.
I would love to, in my lifetime, see a year where everyone around this planet is doing okay. I'd like that on the news. Just a personal goal that I have. Maybe not realistic, but you got to go for things. And sip my coffee. How's everybody doing today?
Fantastic. Everybody's out here. I just heard that one of the Sherpette's sons, who was hearing impaired, just got a job. I think that he was on the last canvas.
Yes, he was. That is fantastic.
That's great. And they were just commenting in here that they were loving the wishes and they were putting some things up there. And that was one of the comments. So, thank you guys.
I appreciate that so much. On our materials, just a quick talk about that. I'm going to use what I'm using. I have these listed in the description below. If you hit the more button, it'll open up. I'll tell you everything that I use. My advice is kitchen sponges, any old basic kitchen sponge that doesn't have a scrubby on the back if you can. I have the colors titanium white and Prussian blue, and then I also have quinacridone magenta, and this is really all I'm using in this painting. I'm not even going to be using a sea sponge in this one. This is all going to be kitchen sponge. This works with any acrylic paint, so don't worry about the type of acrylic paint you have, whether it's craft bottle paint or professional paint. This will be a good project for all of these. The first thing that you're going to want to do is get your kitchen sponge slightly damp. You don't want to be able to wring out any water, but it needs to be a little bit moist. And we're going to start by pulling in some of our blue just from the side here. Pull, 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 pull. And getting a little bit of our white. Little bit of our white. You see that load there? I'm going to make sure this is kind of going across the sponge. And I'm going to come slightly off center, and I want to talk about a couple things. So with this sponge, you have two ways that you're going to make a mark. And one of them is to press down hard. I'm pushing my fingers in, and I'm just pulling down. And this puts down a lot of paint onto my canvas. See how I'm doing? If you're painting with a little brush, I would say right here is maybe one of the more challenging areas for them. We're going to go across the whole canvas and just start with this basic blue. So again, a little Prussian blue here, a little dark blue, whatever blue you have really will work. This particular blue I've got to do a couple coats though because it's a little transparent. And I'm just pulling these lines down straight. I was painting with my daughter last night because she's been really excited about the sponge paintings. And I noticed that's what was really hard for her, was to get the pressure to get the paint out of the sponge onto the canvas. My next trick I'm going to show you is I'm going to turn my canvas to the side and finish my covering process. You can always, if you find your sponge is dry, mist it with like a mist bottle or just re-dampen it in the sink. Either way is perfectly good. It's not really critical how you get it damp. I love this because there's nothing really critical about any of it. It's just, right now I'm just smearing paint on a canvas, trying to make streaks that are straight. My whole goal at this stage, straight streaking and covering. If you have an area that you have trouble getting to because of logistics, always move your canvas to make this easier. And if you're working on a table, it's a good idea to find a way to sort of secure your canvas so it's not sliding around on you everywhere, because they'll want to do that sometimes if they're flat on a table. So I actually did ours with a little bit of tape to stop the shimmying, and that worked really well. So this is our first coat, and it's a really important layer because the blue to darken up needs to have this base to really show how dark it can be. How are you guys doing? Have
This
you
is great.
smeared your canvas?
Oh, yes. They have smeared, and they have requested. Oh, my gosh. It went away.
Requested. I'm hoping it's Texas snowflakes.
Celebratory bubbles.
Yay! Texas snowflakes are my favorite.
So
it snows all year in the Sherpa studio.
In the Sherpa studio, we get
Texas snowflakes.
We only have to be careful of getting getting the little bubbles on the on the moist canvases, because the glycerin sometimes makes little bubbles.
Yeah, and also in my coffee.
In your coffee.
I had like a mountain of little glycerin bubbles. I mean, I'm sure it's fine, but.
Well, I checked them. They're non-toxic bubbles, so
yeah,
we should be okay. So we're soon we're gonna have more music in here, so we can get the boots and cats. We can do all that and do the dancing again, because we have over 300 people here, and I
really appreciate you guys showing up today. I know we're right in the middle of all of it, holiday-wise. Let's let it all go.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. Everything will be fine.
I'm always so grateful having all of you guys here to paint with us. It's so lovely. So thank you.
I am loading up my brush with not my brush, my sponge.
Your sponge.
So notice if I go right into the middle of it, it really takes up a lot of my paint. So I like to come from the outside, and that's why you see me coming from the outside, not just grabbing the whole thing. Because you can see it took that whole big plop of paint. And I'm going to work my outside here, my outer edges, and I'm just going to pull down this dark blue, pulling this down, almost to the bottom, but it doesn't have to go all the way to the bottom. And when I come towards this center area, I'm going to be a little bit lighter about that pressure, and just let it be just a little bit lighter and streaky. On this side, I'm going to go ahead and put some more Prussian blue out. Again, this is any deep, dark blue that you have. That's a nice, deep, nighttime colored blue. Coming on this side and pulling this down. And you can see how where it's layering, it creates that sort of tonal difference that you need. Now, the maneuver that you're going to do, and I think, are you on up close cam?
Yeah.
is you're going to flip your sponge like this, and now you have a clean side.
Yep.
So take the clean side of your sponge. I'm going to get just a tap of my blue on it. So I just tap down into it, and then I'm going to pull out some of my white. So I have a very light color that is loaded throughout the sponge. And I'm going to come down the center, pulling that color down. See how we're doing? And we're very light pressure. Now I'm not pushing my fingers into the sponge. Now I'm dragging the sponge over the surface of the canvas and letting the unevenness of the sponge make a mark. Here's a little secret about art. Everything in art is just tools that make marks. Whether you have powdered ochre and you are blowing it through a straw on your friend's hands on a cave wall, or you're using a fine brush, or you're using a sponge, all of this is just about making marks on a canvas. I'm going to pull this down again a little bit. I'm just making sure that I have this nice space here where this is pulling down. And I'm going to get some more intense white up at the top. And that can be, if it's lifting, that can be a little bit challenging. So I'm just going to come over there. There we go. Just getting that nice thing. And I'm trying to keep these lines as straight as possible. I'm going to go back to my blue. See how I made my little maneuver? Everything in art just makes a mark. But how you put the marks together, that's where you get the art from. I'm taking my blue and sort of making this even and getting my sky to exactly where I want it to be. Just wherever you're happy, wherever you're thrilled. I like to have the center column here. I enjoy that very much. Now I like to do an interesting thing here. I'm going to flip this over. And I'm going to get some of my blue. I might even mist my sponge. This is not a neat project. My daughter loves that it's not a neat project. Honestly, I personally do too. I'm going to pull up some blue along here, darkening this space a little bit. Can you see I'm doing that?
Yeah.
Sometimes in winter, the sky is almost darker at the horizon, which is not how you paint it at other times of the year. And so even with a sponge, we can pay attention to those kinds of things and make a really pretty painting. Now the water that's down here, this is going to be a lot of fun because what we're going to do is we're going to use a couple fundamental principles of painting to create an effect that looks like water. But to do that, I really want to dry the paint that I already have on the canvas and make sure that I've rinsed out my sponge so it's got a fresh little application thing, because it can get kind of like all filled up.
Yeah.
Like they do. I have a bunch of sponges, so I actually get to just switch out sponges and dry my canvas with a hair dryer. With the hair dryer. All right, so I'm going to dry this with a hair dryer.
Dry that down real quick?
Yeah, and John's going to say hi to you, and I'm going to show you how it's easy to put in water. And actually, if you pay attention to how this works, it'll help you with your other water, with your brushes and your other painting. And Texas snowflakes.
So guys, thank you for coming by today. It's really, again, wonderful to have you guys here. And we're looking forward. This is, we've done a lot of paintings over this holiday season, and it's been a real treat to be able to hang out with you. And we're just starting this Christmas break, so we're going to be able to hang out with you guys more over these lives. So I'm really glad for everyone who has some holiday time off. For this. This is it's wonderful to see you guys here. And we're hoping to see your paintings up on our Facebook page and on the website. And I get flabbergasted sometimes because I don't know what to say other than I just love having you guys here to hang out with and do this painting thing. It's just a good timing to come back.
Was that good timing?
Because I was just about to run out of words of saying
words of saying.
Yeah, because I don't have very many of those.
You have plenty of those. So to make this next part look like water when we put in our stream, we're going to switch our brushstroke direction to horizontal. I'm going to be using first just my blue, loading up just my blue, and getting a smidge, see the smidge of white on there. And if you imagine that your canvas halfway point is here, you're going to want to start your horizontal strokes about here.
Yeah.
And you're just going to make horizontal strokes. I have some trouble going low on my canvas because of this lip, so sometimes I'll flip it over. And you're going to make them wider and wider as they come down the bottom. You've got a little white in there, and that's all good.
This is where that stream's going to go, huh?
This is exactly where the stream is going to go.
And that's why you got to get those horizontally kind of...
This is going to help us create this feeling of a reflection. Now, when we have that in, we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to get a little white paint. A little white paint. Paint, 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 paint. Paint, 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 paint. There we go. Nice and on there. And kind of in the center of this stream, right through here, we're going to just make little horizontal brush strokes that are like this. Okay?
Sponge brush strokes.
Sponge strokes.
Sponge strokes.
Sponge strokes.
Empty cupful was laughing, saying, they're sponge strokes.
Sponge strokes. So now already when I flip it over, you can kind of see the water reflection that's happening here.
Yep.
One of the things that got me really excited when I was sponge painting and trying to design some projects for you guys was how complicated and how amazing of a landscape that I could make with just this little tool. So right now we're kind of building up the fundamentals of spongery, but I have some really fun, extraordinary projects coming up that you guys are going to really like. So once I have this in, I'm going to chalk in a couple things so I know where they are, and I'm going to show you where they are so you can put them on your canvas. And I'm going to give John a panic attack because that actually means I have to hair dry again.
Oh, okay. And she just goes. She's just like, I'm out. I'm not even going to give you any warning. I'm just going to jump out here. So what I'll say is that we have all sorts of cool resources for you to find in the description below, like links to our website where we have the materials list and a bunch of other Christmas projects and holiday projects that you can find right there off of the quick links. And let's see, she wasn't gone that long.
I'm not gone that long. I'm just going to make some measurements and make sure I'm correct in my assessment.
So you can find, there's links out there on the website for all of the other projects we did this holiday season. And if you're a time traveler and joining us in the future, then all of the current ones.
There's like 600.
Yeah, well, there's like 600 lessons. You just got a grip of them out there.
I just have a grip of them out there at this point. I love them who are like, do you have this? And I'm like, 10 of them. I have 10. So this mark I've made here is about 5 inches up the top of the canvas. And then I'm going to make another little mark about 4. So this right here, and I actually eyeballed it in correctly, which is crazy, is where my stream starts. But I have to have a little back hill for my tree to be living on before I even put my banks. And I'm going to show this to you in chalk so you can kind of see what I do before I just sponge it in. So there's this little hill back here that lives to about right here. Right? You have this little hill. And then there's going to be a little bank that comes down right off the side. So if you come up just above this hill and you just bring the little bank down to your stream, and it's got a little friend, so you can come up above your hill and bring your little bank down to your stream. That's where all of our biz is going to begin. I'm being Finn from Adventure Time.
Ah.
All of our math biz. All right, so
maths.
When you're doing the bank, it's not dissimilar to me to like folds of fabric. So I bring a little fold back. And I'm going to bring a little fold back. And then it's got a little bank friend that comes forward. And then comes back. And then it's going to have another little friend that comes forward and comes back. So this is just all it really takes to build this simple snowbank. Because the snowbank is just basically the little hill that's here all covered in frozen cold. We're not frozen cold, so that's really nice.
Yeah.
Or hopefully you're not frozen cold.
No, why?
And I'm going to bring that bank off there. And you can see already how that just builds my stream. If I was doing this with a brush, I'd be doing something very similar to this to get this result.
Now, Rain Panda had a question here.
Okay, I have an answer for Rain Panda. I love Rain Panda's handle.
Yeah. So she's saying, my chalk is leaving a white layer on my paint when I erase it. How do I keep that from happening?
Is your chalk or is it oil pastel?
That's a good question.
Because that's...
Not all chalk is the same.
Yeah. So you want the kind of chalk that they do on chalkboards that erases with an eraser, but some of the chalk has either an oil base or clay base in it for some of the artists. What it looks like chalk, but it's actually a type of like Conte crayon or a type of oil pastel. So if it's just chalk and it's still leaving that, what you can do is, as long as your paint is binding well, you can come back with a damp brush and use the water to erase it.
Oh, cool.
But if it's Conte crayon, then you've got to change tools.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put out a little more of my blue, and now I'm going to treat myself to the beginning of my quinacridone magenta, which is right here. But you could choose any kind of magenta pink that you have. This is really about just having a white, a blue, and a pink. It's really all it's about. So don't get too stressed over what you've got to have or you don't have. I'm going to take a little of my quinacridone and kind of dust my sponge with it, right? And I'm going to pull a little of my brush in. And when these get together, they make kind of a dark purple. And we'll call this, for the purposes of our canvas, this is our black, actually. So I've got this sort of purple happening here. And I've got my little mark. And I'm going to just come along the back. I'm using more of the edge of this sponge than the whole sponge. All right, I'm just coming across. And then I'm going to flip the sponge around and make sure that I paint my whole little hill here. Isn't that kind of fun?
Yeah.
And I want to make sure this is dark right here, right? Because this is where our tree is going to be. And it needs to be pretty dark right here. Not perfect, but just dark. So to really darken it, I actually go tap, 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 tap. I'm going to do my sponge flip to get my clean edge. And I'm going to grab some of my white. And it's okay if it has a little of the color on it because this is the farthest hill. And I'm going to just along the top of this hill tap my sponge to make snow. Snow.
Snow-covered hill.
I did a combo of our first easy Christmas tree and this technique with Luna. And when she tapped her sponge to make snow, she was so excited.
I feel like we should be going over these hills laughing all the way.
Laughing all the way. You know, and just tap it till you're happy with your little snow. And it's the little cellulose structure of the sponge that makes this look how it's supposed to make. And so that really helps us a whole lot. Now, I'm going to want to put in these hills, which is a lot of fun. So to put in these hills, I'm going to get back into my dark color. And I love that. That's super fun. Load, load, load. I hope you guys are having a good time painting along with us today.
Yes.
All right. Again, the edge of the sponge is making my clean line. So I'm going to go along the little line I drew in. And so I kind of use it to trace, and then I pull back like this where I want to make my hill. See what I'm doing? So that's go along my little line and pull back. Go along my little line, pull back. Go along my little line, pull back. All I'm doing. Reload. I'm running out of paint. Hopefully you guys are just being all relaxed and happy. That's what art is really for. We get so confused about that. Art is for expression. That's it. Sometimes I like to finish this by taking the top of my hill and go pat, 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 pat. Starts to create a texture that softens it out. So I have the strokes on my hill and then the patting at the top. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Same thing over here. I'm going to, I know, and I'm doing it left-handed, which is sort of funny. I'm going to come along here and trace and pull back.
So
I'm definitely not ambidextrous. It's just that this is such a friendly method. I don't have to worry about working with my dominant hand.
Okay. So I just want to make sure I'm going to recap some things, some questions here.
Oh, I love questions.
So when you're doing the undercoat, you're using the pull method there to get that undercoat.
Yeah.
And when you're putting the snow on the top, you're just dabbing.
I'm just doing the tap method.
Okay, yeah, and you're not pulling the snow because that'll make it look smeary.
It'll be smeary snow.
So, and it's okay to have it kind of smeary undercoat because you're just trying to get an even darkness there.
Yes.
But you want to dab it with the snow.
Exactly.
Okay. They just want to make sure that we're clear on the right strokes we're using.
They are exactly clear. They are the smartest, most amazing future artists.
Well, I saw that we've got a bunch of things. I'm going to see if I can remember. I saw there was Jaden, I believe, is having her 10th birthday today.
Happy birthday, Jaden.
Yeah, and I think that there was another 10th anniversary is coming up.
That's awesome.
And I know that we've got a lot of people here who are, they're celebrating that they were feeling good. They're having some recovery from some of their illnesses. So I just generally wanted to say art high fives to our community who are having a super good day today.
Definitely art high fiving that.
And art high five to Estonia because we have a Estonia person with us. So cool.
Hi, Estonia.
That's just, don't have that every day.
Let's do our sponge flip. I love doing that. Flip.
Sponge flip.
Pull this out and load it more white than I did on the background hill. I might even get deeper into the sponge. See how much deeper I am into the sponge for this? And I'm going to come along here. And I'm going to just very carefully be tapping. Maybe pull a little bit along the edge, but I'm tapping along the top.
You did a pull.
Right? Pull here.
Oh.
Just the corner along the edge. And I don't take it all the way over the blue because that's my shadow. And I'm going to just enjoy tapping. And the more you tap, the more it's snowed, basically. And you can even tap a little bit down into your hill so it's nice and blended. And come down here and maybe pull a little bit and then tap into it. See how it makes the blend?
Yeah.
And it creates that feeling of that hill. Tap, 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 tap. Pull, 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 pull. Tapping. I love the tapping. Now, I like to sort of come here and make this edge very soft. This is, if you live in a place that's snow, you'll get this. This is powder. As the daughter of two, full-on skiers, even though I never personally skied, because they wouldn't let me ski, I know that's powder.
Do you know what I see?
Aspen, Colorado represent.
As an Eagle Scout, I see a lot of wet feet, is what I see.
And you see a lot of wet feet?
Yeah.
Well, come out, equipped.
Oh, no, I'll be fine.
Okay.
But I just, that's what it says to me. It says, prepare to dry some people's feet off, is what I'm thinking.
So what you're thinking. So just here at the edge here, I am pulling that little sort of pull stroke, and that, helps it feel like a bank a little bit, doesn't it? And then I'm going to tap here and to make my powder. I got a real dark purple this time. That happens every time I paint. Somebody was saying that they were feeling a lot of stress because theirs didn't look exactly like mine. And what I would say is mine don't look exactly like mine every time I paint them.
Yeah.
I'm not a copy machine. You're not a copy machine. We've got those. It's a wonderful tool. But other than that, we're just artists. And every time we come to the canvas, we're in a different mood. We're in a different place in our life. I mean, from day to day, if you paint daily, you can start to track all the different emotional spaces that you might be in from one day to another day. Because it's like every time you paint, it's a whole different bag.
Yeah.
And that's important to remember when you're, when you're painting and you're putting pressure on yourself, to not put that pressure, because it's not really helpful to what you're doing. So I think those are pretty much perfect little banks. When you cut sponges, if you've been painting with me, I get little squares.
Your little bits.
And I call these my detail sponges.
Oh,
these are
detail
my details.
sponges.
And what I like to take these little triangle bits is I like to load the little edge of them with, like this. And then I can come and do some little detail work in places like my stream. Or paint trees and flowers and all kinds of crazy things. It's amazing what you can do. I'm just wanting to darken my stream where my tree is going to be and along my bank a little bit. Again, you're learning a lot about what's happening in your traditional paintings by doing this, right? You got to have a shadow even in your water. I'm going to pull this over just a little bit. If you're already perfectly happy with your stream, don't worry about this. This is just so that you guys understand how this works with your traditional painting, right? And we're going to be doing a whole cool trick with a little card here in a second to create these really fun reflections. But this is just something nice you can do. You can even do a little purple, right here, making it real dark if you want to, making this front bank real dark. Isn't that fun? Well, it's fun for me. I don't know. I was just really tickled that I was like, look, I can totally do all this.
I'm just laughing at some of the comments. Julie says, as an Eastern Canadian, I see a lot of bumps and bruises from sliding down those hills. Right into that stream, which hopefully is completely frozen over and not just enough to warn you the first 2 or 3 times you slide over it.
I have to tell you, the reflection is not a good sign for that.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a thing.
Adventure.
It's going to be an adventure. Now, if you have chalk with you, this is a great tool to help you with the tree. And if you have a little brush with you, or you're feeling less than confident about the shape of your tree, chalk can be your friend, because as long as it's like the kids' chalk that you would use on a chalkboard, you can, if this is dry, which it's not, let me dry it.
Oh, okay.
It needs to be dry.
While she's drying that, I'll say, hi. Wow. This is again, see, I should prepare for this more. But you guys have been here long enough to know that, well, I don't, because I'm generally scrambling to get the studio and all this kind of stuff going. So, hi. Oh, look, she's back. So I don't actually have to be prepared for anything.
So I'm going to take my chalk and I'm going to make sure I leave some of my shadow, because that's what makes my tree seem like it's really there. Shadows are super important. Abstract art, regular art, very important. I'm going to take a line almost all the way to the top. And I'm going to do this because again, I was painting with Luna last night and I was seeing where she was feeling anxiety. Actually, she did really well. I'm going to suggest that you do some guidelines. So where you see my tree having a little branch, why not give yourself a little chalk reminder that there's these little branches that come out, that they swing down and over. You can add more, you can have less, and then also make sure that you talk about that they're getting wider as the tree is coming down, right? That way, when you're doing your dabbing with your Q-tips, you're not like, wait, what's the shape of a pine tree? Which is the whole panic attack my little one had last night. I can't remember what shape it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really that important. And then she just copied what I did. She was great. But I just wanted to give that suggestion. I have bundles of Q-tips. These are, well, they're not Q-tip brand Q-tips. I do like either the Good Beauty makeup Q-tips that are wrapped really tightly, or the brand Q-tips. What you're looking for is a cotton bud and earbud that the cotton is wrapped tightly. If it's not, you stick the cotton bud in your mouth and you twirl it the direction to tighten it down and allow it to dry. And that's how you make a generic cotton bud work really well. Because you can tell I've been painting with Q-tips a lot, so I know that now. I'm going to get into my blue, interestingly enough, a little bit first. See how I'm doing? heavy paint pulls more of the cotton loose, heavy body paint, than the craft paint will or the soft body paints will. I'm going to get a little of my quinacridone, my magenta. Any magenta will work. I'm not going to do fully up this little skinny part of the tree. I'm going to start about where my first branch is going out. I'm going to come out a little bit, right? Because I'm doing the interior shadow of my tree. And I might put more branches than I even sketched in, start implying them out. There we go. Just put it on out. I like the bundle of 3. A bundle of 3. And it can get deep magenta. It can have a little purple to it. You just want a deep shadow in the core or the heart of your tree so the tree looks full and healthy. That's all you're doing. Is saying this incredibly unbelievable pink Christmas tree that I really wish was a real thing in the real forest is very healthy. So anywhere from the deep magenta to a purple from the little bit of blue is what you're looking for. And remember, you can add more branches coming out as you're going. This should be a full fluffy tree.
A fluffy tree.
It's a fluffy, happy tree. Fluffy, happy tree. And sometimes I like to put little foreshortened branches in there, and I get a little arty with my trees. But basically, it's this shape, cascading, swooping out branches, coming down, you know. And something to remember, that none of the trees in the forest are perfect, so yours does not have to be. If you had some idea of a perfect pine, right? They just really aren't that. And we're so forgiving of what they actually are, and then we go to paint them, and we're not forgiving of our renditions of them. I'm going to just make sure it's nice and heavy down here. I'm going to make sure I have nice foliage all the way. And I'm going to want it to be a little bit dark because this would be one of the darker part of the tree. So it would be a little more purple for me. And I'm just bringing this little kind of skirt of branches out, right? Tapping the shape. Tap, tap, tap. I love the little tapping motion and movement and everything. Now, you can flip your Q-tips and do the next layer. If you want, you can get a fresh bundle if your Q-tips are getting fuzzy. I like to bundle up a bunch before I start. I'm going to put out a little white paint. Well, I thought I was, but apparently I'm not. Doesn't take a lot. So this would be much like the craft bottle paints, except this is golden, so they have a lot of pigment. That would be the difference, is their fluid paints have a ton of pigment because they're the same as their heavy body paints. Just soft. So I'm taking my pink and my white. I love watching, this is so silly, I love the dabs into the paint because they make little flowers. They do. Little flowers that they do. And again, I'm not going to do the whole top of the tree yet. I'm going to do that with single Q-tips in just a second. But I'm going to add this next pink layer. This is our mid-tone. Don't take out all your dark colors when you're doing it. Leave some. Okay? Leave some dark colors. And remember that you can rock on the edge and just get a couple. You can get all 3. You can even kind of position them so you just get one. So this tool makes many marks.
Does it?
Yes. And we haven't even done with the fact that you can go like that. That you can do a stroke or a drag motion with it. It makes a whole nother mark. So many marks.
So many.
So many. So I'm just creating this layer. So it's sort of building up, but you're seeing those dark shadows are there, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's what trees need. Now you know a thing about a tree that maybe when you were painting trees you were feeling too tense to observe, is that trees have to have shadows. Really, on a tree, you're not painting every little leaf. Some artists do. There's a couple artists that will paint every little leaf. Every one. That's okay. It's a good way to do it. Not what we're doing today. We're painting the light and highlight and shadows of our tree. Our pink, perfect little forest tree. You know a unicorn lives by this for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm seeing unicorns and mermaids and dragons kind of on a comeback. Have you noticed that, John?
Yeah, I do. I do think
I'm really hopeful.
well, we can help along that process. I think that our community might be open to that as well.
I love a unicorn and a dragon and a mermaid. A little centaur.
Some of the deep D&D fantasy.
Yes. So I'm going to take a single Q-tip and dab it into my magenta. And just come up and make a little point here. See? That's a little more delicate.
Okay.
And then I can just come right over that with a little bit of white. And there you go. See, that part isn't hard. Just needed a single Q-tip. I'm going to sip my coffee and let this have a little minute before I put the white highlight on it that makes it pop.
So can I tell you something that you just reminded me of there when you were doing the little tip on your tree there? Mm-hmm. So I was taking Honey and her friends down to the local game place last night, and they have a Christmas tree in there. And it's a really cute Christmas tree, but on the top of it, they had an angel. Mm-hmm. And the angel was covering her eyes. And I thought, oh my, a weeping angel tree
No
topper.
weeping angels on the top of our Christmas tree. Nope, that's not our theme.
It was just really, really cute. And I thought I saw that.
That's
not here on this one.
The scariest Doctor Who monster ever. It's not cute.
But I saw that and I was like,
you're going to talk to them about that, and I'm going to dry my tree.
Okay. So yeah, in Doctor Who, there's the weeping angels, which were some of the scariest of the monsters. They were able to, as soon as you blinked, they could move. So you always had to keep your eyes open looking at them. But yep. So that was I saw that when I was out with her last night. I brought the kids out to the local gaming store. So, well. And actually, that's right. I was just reading. I got caught up here in a couple of reading there. We did do a painting lesson on the Weeping Angel, didn't we? There is. You did teach that, didn't you? We did one a long time ago.
Scared the out of me.
Yeah.
It was a really intense. So a lot of us, I hope you are too, are Whovians.
Yes.
We like Doctor Who. It's okay if you're not. Right?
Don thinks
not all
it's the
TV
best
shows have
right
to be exciting for all people.
Yeah.
But a lot of us are Whovians, so I have done several Doctor Who paintings, and even a mystery that you had to solve, where you had to hop from video to video and solve the mystery. Nobody solved the mystery because apparently I don't know, I didn't do it right. I'm gonna get a little pink on my Q-tips, on these new clean Q-tips. A little. And I'm going to get right into my white and really load those. And where I try to focus this white is on top of the branches and then a lot at the ends. Right? That's where I'm going to try to focus my white. So a lot at the ends and then on top. And then you can always put some in the center, right? Because there'd be a branch facing you. That is the foreshortened branch. The one that's coming to you that's in perspective. So it's just, nice to come to the edges, put maybe a little more focused branch there in the center. And you're doing. But really, I got to tell you, just however you want to do this is okay, because it's not like there's a pop quiz. Q-tip sponge pop quiz. I'm going to ruin my Christmas vacation. Pop quiz art. You can see I'm just adding these little layers to my tree. Creating levels and dimensions is really kind of what it's about. In pine trees, whether you're painting them with a brush or you're painting them with Q-tips or a sponge or however you do it. Because, I figured out how to do these with sea sponges, too. And then also makeup blenders. Bath sponges, crumpled up newspaper.
So many different.
So many different marks. So many different marks. We're just tapping this along. We're not rushing. We're so relaxed. This is our holiday time. Now, as we're coming down, I actually like to get just a smidge more pink on my brush because we want this to stand out against its background. So I'm just going to make sure that I've got a little more pink, and I let this lower part of my tree be a bit darker. See what I'm doing? And that way it shows up against its background well. Put a nice little bit of highlight right here, right? That you might have. And when you get your tree to a place that you feel it's very festive and full and pink and awesome sauce, wherever your awesome sauce is. And remember, you can always go back in, like if you lose some color or something, remember you can go back in with just pink and white, right?
Yeah.
Pop it up. So don't, like, if you're like, oh, I did too much white, what? That's cool. Just go back with some pink. I'm going to take a single Q-tip.
Just a single one?
Just a single Q-tip.
Now you're into your detail Q-tippery.
It's a single Pringle Q-tip.
Ooh. You're almost into pointillism.
Again, totally doable if you're feeling like, oh, I just got some time.
But see, we just threw a $2 word at what we're doing.
Well, this is pointillism.
But yeah, I know. But we're Q-tipping.
And also, just so you know, you can do some detail work on your tree with your single Q-tip.
Yes.
Which is sort of crazy and sort of fun, and I love it. When you have that done, I like to take a business card and cut it. Any business card. Doesn't have to be your own. I don't want it to be too wide because I want to be able to work it in the stream. You can kind of see this about this wide. I don't know, what is that? Let's look at the width I'm using. Just under an inch, right?
Okay.
And about just a little over 3 centimeters. So somewhere in there. I'm going to come into my white. And also I'm going to put a little more pink so I can do this because it's really about doing this edge load. And this is going to tell you a lot about reflections. One of the hardest things I have helping people do is reflections on the water because they have a hard time keeping them level. And I realize this is a great way to talk about that because this by its nature is pretty level. So all you have to do is connect it to the canvas in a level way. Now I'm not going to come all the way to the tree. I'm going to come down a little bit with these whites. I'm going to just touch. I'm not trying to connect necessarily the whole card to the canvas. Tap, tap, tap right in there. That's on the edge. So when you're pressing this down, right, it's very light pressure, so sometimes it makes little dots. Sometimes it makes big lines, and that is going to actually build up this believable reflection that we're doing in this silly, fun painting. And I think that's sort of exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
If that happened, it's just, I can paint reflections on the water, and it's not even hard for me no matter what. Sorry.
Looks really good.
So sometimes I use 2 hands to just sort of study the process, however you want to do it. Of course, if you're not enjoying this, you can always switch to a brush. There's no rules in art when you're painting for yourself. It's your studio. It's your kitchen table. It is your space, your canvas. So don't do things that take away your joy in your art. But I really have joy from making reflections with this little business card. Just doing this here. So see how we have that there?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to come and get in my pink, and make sure it's mixed with white, white, white. It's kind of bright and poppy. And maybe back here I'm going to touch just some of the card. Right. Just pull some of the card here. Just tap down a little pink reflection. Another cool thing you can do is you can pull if you want to.
Oh,
that'll
yeah.
happen. Tapping. See how we're doing? So all the ways that we talk about reflections in art, you can do right here with this simple business card. I know I say it a lot, that the art is not in the tools. Tools make easy work. A good tool is an artist friend for sure. I certainly prefer them. But at the end of the day, everything that happens in my canvas is about me. About what I brought to it, the marks that I made with the tools that I have. And I do agree that if you have tools that won't make the marks you're trying to make, that could be frustrating. But maybe realize that you've got to find the mark and the tools that you have. Because what if you just had a sponge and you didn't have some other tool, right? Just tap a little more reflection here. It's a little lighter. There we go. I'm happy with that. That's good. So now I have a reflection coming down. I think it could be a little, is this light enough? I think it'd be a little lighter. I'm sorry, I'm gonna be fussy. See, I can do that. You can do that. You'd be like, oh, I want more light reflections. I just flip my card over to the side that doesn't have anything going on. Just put a little more, right? Just spend time with it. Make it how you want it. Discover the marks that your tools make. Have a great time. And now I'm going to do the only brush work that I have on my whole canvas, which is I'm going to take a little of the white on my little detail brush here. This is a number 1 little detail, I think. Let's see. Somehow I grab one without. Oh, this is my 3/0.
Okay.
Little detail. And I'm going to take a little pink paint. I'm going to just sign over here. No yellow snow today. Pink snow. That's
snow.
a mystery, isn't it? All right. Sign your painting. Give yourself a pat on the back.
That came together fast.
It's just a lot of fun. And that's really what art is. So while you're learning how to paint and you're enjoying all your resources and you're enjoying all of the materials that make art fun for artists, the great brushes, the great products, mediums, paints, tools, everything that's out there, because it really is just a big, beautiful world of things that you can use. Remember not to get too wrapped up in any one part of it and just enjoy the simple process of making marks on a canvas.
Yeah.
Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at the easel really soon. Bye.